Hello, everyone. Welcome to American Scouser's Morning Coffee or Tea with AmericanScouser.com. I'm your host, as always, Timothy, here with Trevor. Trevor, what's happening, man?
Not too much. Try to stay dry. It's very rainy in my neck of the
Speaking of
woods today.
dry, it's that time of year in Chicago where might have to turn the. I've been fighting the feeling, but might have to turn the heat around. There's a fine line between
Oh
sleeping in a
yeah,
nice, cool house and freezing your ass off when you wake up. And we are
yeah.
crossing that line this morning. It felt like, hence, I'm wearing this thing over here because it's a little chilly in here. Well, Alan is with us as always. Good morning, Alan. So couple of headlines to get to, and then we'll take a quick peek at the weekend. You made like a star appearance, your debut podcast
Oh yeah.
appearance last night over there, and I am
Came off
sorry
the
to say it
bench.
happened with those two Irish dudes. So more power to you, buddy. But you guys talked a lot about the game, and we'll get to that. We'll do like a quick preview because I'm sure we'll have a pre-match as well. But we'll kind of like give our, I guess,
Rub it in,
predictions.
Alan.
It's 70 this morning. Yeah, rub it in is where the hell is oh yeah, because Al is in Houston, where they can brag now, but they have to hide away from you know public for like 3 months a year because it's like freaking 110 degrees over there, I think. But yeah, I do envy the 70 in the morning right now, though. I'll give them that. So you brought this up because it literally just popped up as a headline. So we'll talk about this one first, but I'm still going for Vitor Pereira over here to take over as the Portuguese guy. I wish I was his agent because I would have gotten the gig by now. But Wolves are talking to Nuno over his return. What do you say about that? Did they just run out of Portuguese people, so they go back to the beginning of the
Yeah,
list?
yeah. They're uh, going with a good green initiative and recycling. They're it. I think they're just out of ideas. They're a team that can't score. They're a team that has troubles with all of the creative players that they have doing anything positive with that creativity. Maybe they catch lightning in a bottle with him again, where they were kind of on the brink of Europe every year. I don't know. It's a guy that since he left has been nothing but just a mess. And there was always every single job that was kind of like mid tier, he was like linked to.
Yeah, he
And
was.
you're going, yeah, I guess it would be cool if Nuno went there. Yeah, it was never those things where like, oh yeah, yeah, I'm excited. Oh, we're gonna get Nuno in, and we're just gonna revolutionize things. It was always just like that sense of acceptance of, I guess, yeah, it would work if he comes. Like, cool, have a coach, nice.
I
Yeah,
think it's
that,
more one of those things where, like, when you're bringing Nuno over, I don't think there's like there might not be a huge excitement. You're just kind of bringing stability, right? You're
yeah,
bringing a guy that's going to be calm, collected. So if you're in a club that's in turmoil, it's a
a
good
steady
name to
hand.
bring in. And Wolves are in that turmoil, and they're probably like, man, somebody was doing good over here. Who the hell was that? And then they
Yeah,
might have just gone back to him, is what I'm guessing. But I mean, not that it would be a bad move over potential other moves, I guess. I mean, I was going to ask you about that because they're playing Forest this week. And I mean, somebody has
yeah,
to freaking win, I would think, right? Or do
yeah.
they just go 0-0? I mean, Forest finds goals, they just leak goals in. Mind you, Wolves can't find goals, and they're actually not bad defensively. So I don't know which way does that game go. Does the attacking side lure the other one, or does the defending side lure the other one?
Yeah, I'm hoping Wolves are hoping it's the latter where they just this is their season when they open up and they score more goals in this game than they have the rest of the season prior. But I think they have 3 goals right now for the season through 8 games.
Something crazy like that. It's
So yeah,
3 goals
I'll
sounds
I'll,
like
I'll
an
confirm because
exaggeration, but it's not.
I'll confirm it just because it sounds weird to say, even though I think it's true. 3 goals in eight
Yep,
games.
three
Yep.
goals for 12 goals against, and like I say, 12 is not obnoxious,
No,
but
and
three
it's
is.
12 is the same amount as Liverpool's let in, so that's not. Yeah, I don't know if you want to say that as a positive at this point, but yeah, the 3 is
I mean,
bad.
most
And
scored more goals in within 7 minutes than Wolves have scored the whole
yeah,
season. If you look at it that way, yeah, it is kind of abysmal. And I think like I say, bringing back Nuno is not a bad idea. Um, in some ways, because like I say, it could be worse. And I don't know if they're in a situation where we were talking about this in the Premier League show, like they're in trouble, and I don't know if that's time to have an adventure with a younger guy or something like that,
yeah,
or any guy who speaks Portuguese who can talk to the team. But I don't know if it's like it might be a bit too risky right now. And here's another thing: like I think it's a good time to bring in coaches. This World Cup kind of helps teams in that way. I think because they will have a lot of time. They just don't have an
yeah.
international break where they get like 10 days. They will have a lot of time to get their stuff. Oh, I'm glad Alan actually brought this up in the comments because we gotta kind of like talk about this a little bit.
We're getting
You
there.
were
We're getting
mentioning it
there.
in the pre-show fist fight we got going. Mbappe now sees PSG as being impossible to trust because they told me they were giving me the city. What is going on? And is even considering breaking his contract. And I saw some stuff like there's certain clauses he can use to break the contract. He can be on the free, all kinds of stuff going on, especially with
Yeah,
that bot stuff. You said you will, because I just literally just found that out. I was not following Mbappe. I've kind of given up on that whole thing. I think Alex was the one asking in our Discord channel, and I saw him like posted on Facebook too, like Mbappe or Bellingham kind of thing. And I don't think I saw one Mbappe response because it's crazy town.
it's a headache. And now you see stuff like this, and I almost kind of want to go back to the international break where the French story we were talking about was about witch doctors and not contract law. Much more bland and boring, even if it is freeing up one of the best players in the world.
Yeah, it is kind of like shocking that the whole how this ordeal has turned out. I mean, the dude was available. They gave him the world. They convinced him, and I just don't think he was fully convinced. So at the first sign of trouble,
Yeah,
I mean, what I was, like listening to a couple of shows of like the insiders and stuff like that. I guess the biggest thing is his complaint is on the field, and that by itself should tell you that the dude is kind of for himself. And dude, he's way too young to be like that. I mean, we know, Messi and Ronaldo at some point in Real for a while too. I mean, they became a little LeBronish, if you will, where a player slash general manager as a part-time gig. So they,
yeah,
they kind of like, bring some people that they want. They're like, Joe, you want to come play with me? Like
yeah,
he's like, we should get Joe. He plays great. And then, like doing stuff like that. But the dude is way too young to be doing that right now.
yeah. And it's troubling to see that you're right. A lot of his complaints have come from just the way the team plays, and they got the coach that he wanted. They're playing a system that he wants, but he still wants more. And I don't understand how you can be so into yourself when you have Messi and Neymar in your team, and you have a defense that is getting so much better that gives you so many more opportunities. I don't get how you can still not be satiated professionally. It blows my mind, and it goes back to our conversation of like, oh, if they were gonna sell him, we can live him. I'm like, yeah, I love him as a player, but as a person, I just nah.
And
At this point, I'm out.
and like you're kind of like mortgaging your club over the dude for the most part. I mean, with the money
Yeah,
going to him and stuff like that. I mean, with the wages that he gets,
a million
City
a
did
week.
something similar for like Holland, but you gotta get if you're getting somebody like that, they better have the personality to be able to kind of lead and be, a model citizen in some ways, and that guy, like, you don't want to be paying the guy, and you don't want to be paying for trouble, which is what you're probably doing
Yeah.
with Mbappe getting it. Alan says 37 days onto the World Cup kickoff. I am pretty much nominating Alan as the only guy who's counting down the days because I don't think anybody else is. You know who's not is Southgate, because now he might have possibly. There's like
Yeah.
conflicting reports this morning in terms of how much, like the injury of James. What do you? I mean, does that really put him in a tough spot where the guy is like, well, I like Trippier anyway. I mean, that was his kind of like, favorites, but now he can play him like you were saying. But
Yeah.
now, despite his form, I mean, he almost will have to call up Trent, because you got to figure
I was
Trent is going to
saying,
be ready in 2 weeks.
gasp! He has to give Trent a roster spot. Oh, that scallywag! How will he ever recover from the shame that he has to bring upon his nation for bringing one of the best right backs into the world into his team? Oh no, what disrepute!
He almost like falls ass backwards into the right stuff, I feel like
Yeah,
sometimes.
he's
Like,
very Mr. Magooey.
yes, that's a good that's a
Oh my
perfect
god,
analogy
I
there.
just boomer referenced myself.
You
Jesus,
know
it's
what?
too early.
Actually, yeah, because I got it, but
Yeah,
people are
yeah.
Googling Mr. Magoo as we speak. They're like, who the hell is that? So let's talk a little bit about the weekend. We'll get to our boys at the very end. Some interesting matchups this weekend. One of them was, like I said, Wolves Forest. We kind of like touched up on that. Tottenham Everton, I think, should be a good game. But the one that I'm like, would watch and will still probably watch. I don't know if I'll get up for that one because it is a tad early, but at 8 a.m. But United's Newcastle. What do you make of that? Because it's a good opportunity for Newcastle to kind of, you know, earn their spots, and they played really good against big teams. I mean, we beat him in the 99th minute or whatever the hell it was, 97, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, they gave a tough time obviously to City. What do you expect out of that? Because I mean, that's a solid team overall. They've had some shocking results, but it's a team I feel like the players on there feel like they belong in the top six, the big six, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And so they focus on those games a lot more. So I expect a really good Newcastle. Whereas if Newcastle plays Brentford, it feels like they don't get up for it as much.
Yeah, and it's something I think with Newcastle is they're still trying to find their feet as an upper echelon club, because now they have the backing and they're getting the players in there, but now those players that they're getting in there and trying to gel are getting like hurt in shifts. Like they'll lose one guy for like 2 weeks and then he'll come back healthy, and then they'll lose the next guy who was supposed to mesh with the guy that just came back from injury. So until they get everybody kind of healthy at once, it's going to be something where there's going to be those ebbs and flows with them. And like you see them hold their own with the big boys and then just go and just lay a turd against a nobody. And yeah, that happens to every team, but I think it's more prevalent with Newcastle right now just because
Yeah.
they don't really have anything to work on, because they don't have everybody all healthy at once. Like I think Isaac's going to miss this game.
Yes,
So
he
yeah,
is. I've been informed by my fantasy team that we're
yeah,
missing a striker over there. So I was like, okay. By the way, public service announcements over here. Go check your fantasy team because there's a
oh yeah,
game today.
Brentford Brighton.
Brentford Brighton, right? And Premier League servers will go down an hour before the game starts because they'll be overloaded with all these requests. So
Yeah,
you won't be able to change your roster. So go do it right after the show over here. Don't forget, like I did, I think last week. I had to go back, but I think I might have played Luis, our boy, Lucho. But hey, what are you gonna do? Alan says, Timuchin, trust me, when you're in your 60s, you'll be up very early, like 2:30 a.m. daily for a trip to the bathroom. Yeah, I hope not. I hope not. Let's. I can wait on those days. I can wait. I think that's why Alan is counting the days for the World Cup, because I think there are games at like 7 and shit in the morning, like during the week. So you'll be able to like watch something,
Yeah,
and it's like,
he'll be bright eyed and bushy tailed
yes,
by the
and we're
time
gonna
those.
be in like perfect timing over here because we'll be basically doing a preview for the games because most of the days the games start at like 9 a.m. Well, at least my time. So basically, once the show is over, normally you'll be able to start tuning into the pre-match and go from there. It's gonna be a lot of interesting soccer watching. We'll be doing a lot over here in American Scouser too, because obviously with no Liverpool games, instead of talking about January transfer rumors every freaking day nonstop. We'll be doing a lot of World Cup coverage. So another game, Leeds Arsenal. What do you expect out of that one? Because I thought Leeds is one of those teams. I think when they're home, they're a lot more dangerous. The way they play. But at the same time, Arsenal is disciplined enough to pick that press apart. Which way do you see that unfolding?
Uh, yeah, and especially on the radio that I've been hearing a lot. There's some rumblings that there's like pressure on Jesse Marsh, and I understand that it's a Premier League job and your team is struggling. Nobody just wants to hear it because it's an American manager, and they all just view him as like the real life Ted Lasso, even though the stories are very very different. Either way, it's something where I really hope Arsenal start to falter a bit. Not that I want like City to jump ahead and just run away with the league, but I think it's something where if any chance of top four in our eyes is going to come, it's going to come from teams like Arsenal and Spurs dropping points where they shouldn't. And Leeds is a team that if they are running on all cylinders, they can really just go in there and make your life miserable. And we we showed just from a couple of spells in the game that we had this past weekend that Arsenal is not sound defensively as much as
Yeah.
people want to say they are. They are shaky, and and I think Leeds can really put some pressure on them. And if they can go steal a point from them, that'd be huge for Leeds and kind of like trying to get their trajectory back in the right path. And I'm hoping that Leeds can go get something out of that game.
So I want to ask you this because we talked about this in the past, on the like the Monday podcast, I believe, or it could have been on the Premier League show with Galley and Bickler. Do you think Jesse is in trouble, not just purely on the form? Because I mean they started a lot better than how they've been going. I'll give them that. But they have 9 points. They're sitting 14th with a game in hands. So it's not they're not that bad. Do you think he's in trouble mostly because he's American, where it's almost like the FSG out crowd that's can't say anything and has to be in hiding, even though they're not too big on having an American ownership. When things are good, but the moment things are starting to go bad, they come out and they're like FSG out and stuff like that. They're like, it's my time now, kind of thing, and they can come out. Do you think it's the same thing? That because he's American, he probably already has. I like you said, the stories are totally different. It's not like the guy showed up out of nowhere and said,
Yeah.
"Oh, this is just like American football. I can do this." Like he has a lot of background in the game and he's a good manager overall. But do you think he gets that? He's in danger, and the rumblings are mainly because he's American?
Yeah, and I think it's an unfair stigma, and it's something that back when like Bob Bradley went over to Swansea, like he was scrutinized for everything he did before he even like when he was sitting in the crowd before he took over. They're like, "Oh man, what is he doing?" He's like sitting upright, weird. And now Jesse has stuff where he's very just impassioned on the sidelines and yells a lot and runs around and is very just got a lot of histrionics about him. And people will be like, "Oh God, look at this guy. He's just so pompous." But then you have some like Jurgen who's doing like the Tiger Woods fist pump every goal, and they're like, "Oh, that's just Jurgen." And there's not that middle ground with Americans, especially in management over there yet, where there's just that understanding that they know what they're doing to a certain extent. It's always of just you have to go that above and beyond to prove yourself, which I think is unfair. And it does heap the pressure where it should just be normal of, hey, you've not gotten a win in 5 matches. Let's figure out what we can do to kind of turn things around with baby steps. No, it for Jesse it has to be like, no, you have to have like a full, just give me a incredibly lengthy business plan of what you're going to do with this team, bit by bit, bullet points. I want slides. And it's just not giving the guy credit. Like he's been in Germany and in all of these places where, and he's done well. He's won with every single step of his road with the Red Bull brand, and now he's in England and he's taken a team that was falling apart when he came in, kept them up, and now he's trying to integrate some of his players in, and it's not going like, and like we just talked about with Newcastle. It's something where you can't have 3 of your main guys hurt at one time that you're trying to build a system around and go, well, guess the system doesn't work. Yeah, you can't have a car and none of the wheels move and you're like, well, I guess this car is useless forever. No, you have to find the replacements for the fucking wheels. It's so stupid.
Here's the thing. I think I agree it's unfair. But like I was saying back then, I think this is something that the Americans have brought on themselves by talking down soccer for so long and almost have like thou shalt not play soccer. It's football. This is football kind of a thing. Because I mean, I don't know, like not even being away from the sport or not knowing the sport, it almost like I don't know, especially like I mean, when I first came here for college way back in the day, well, only like 5 years ago when I came here for college.
Yeah.
But no, like almost like a dislike for soccer or like like an animosity towards soccer. Whereas I don't know, like you go to Europe and you said I don't know American football. They might be like, so what is this? What's going on and stuff? People might be like, oh, it's a new sports. What is going on? There might be a semi interest, but they were like, no, that's shit. Like that's basically what soccer got over here for so long. I think over time, now you see a lot more players there and being accepted, not only because, I mean, in the past, most of the American players over there were players that had grown up in Europe. But I think like you're now seeing actual, like American players playing there. I think it's gonna take time to kind of reverse that over, so and translate into managers. So it is unfair, and basically they're fighting the good fight in some ways for the managers in the future. But I think his criticism mostly comes from the fact that he's American, so everything he says is like, do you even know? I mean, you should see the crap that we get, for example, for our YouTube videos when people don't agree. When we did a preview and we said, hey, Villa might struggle, we don't know if Gerard's going to be able to put the 11 together with the new names and stuff. People were like, what do you guys know? You guys in America. Well, look at Villa now. Who's playing Chelsea, by the way, at home? Do you think Villa gets anything out of that, or Chelsea kind of continues their ride?
To keep it simple, no.
But you're American. What do you know?
Yeah.
Okay, let's get to our boys. I was kind of like dreading this, saving the worst for last.
Yeah.
I know we had a great game and we kind of talked about it yesterday midweek, but we had that fake sense after the Bournemouth game as well, and we said back then that might be because it's Bournemouth and this could be because it's Rangers. How much of it translates, and like what do you expect? I guess my only I mean, if you look at overall form, current squad, whatever you want on paper, does not look like we stand much of a chance to be able to keep up. And then especially like always conceding first and stuff. My only hope for this game is this is a game that the team will be really really up for, because this has become a huge rivalry, and they do not want to go down the lose big against City and stuff like that, because that's what all the talk is going to be. So maybe they will come with a chip on their shoulder, almost like a Barcelona like performance where they overperform and go above and beyond and steal a win that way. Because Pep is not going to let City be too comfortable coming out thinking they're going to win easily.
Yeah, but 100%. And my thing, the difference between the big result against Bournemouth and this one was just the confidence that it was just bringing out of certain guys. Mo not scoring in the Bournemouth game, I felt just, and the fact that they spent like the last 10 minutes trying to get him a goal, and he had like a couple really just easy opportunities by his standards, and he just bricked them all. And that had to like weigh on him that they scored 9 and he couldn't even like get a shot on frame, which was just frustrating. But then there was other guys like Virgil scored in that game, but he was also, I think, if I go back and like look at his heat map, he probably moved like 10 feet otherwise, because Bournemouth just couldn't do anything. Whereas Ranger in that first half, their defense had to just do so much. And even though Rangers scored and it was their first goal of the group stages, it was something where they had to like work really hard, and Arfield just took a really good shot. It wasn't like they bungled the ball away and it was tapped in from 2 feet and something like that, where it was like in the Arsenal game where just every goal came from a mistake.
Yeah.
It was something where Rangers had a moment of brilliance, and otherwise they were incredibly solid defensively, in my eyes. So it's something where they can build the confidence from that. Having Konate healthy is really helpful. Allison making a couple big saves is helpful for him. So I think just the confidence that come from that is more important than the amount of goals that they put in. And I think it's going to help them going into Sunday. So they're not going to just feel like they're the team that everybody's pitying right now. Like, oh, look at these fallen giants and everything. They're like, all right, we're still here. We're not flying high yet, but we're still here. And you show if you give us an inch, we can do this. So be careful.
I think my only fear is, even during the Rangers game, like as you watch the game, there were some moments and I'm like, man, a good team would have ripped us apart right now when we turned the ball over and stuff like that. I mean, having said that, some of those players will not be on the field, and you're gonna have, you're gonna have Mo out there, you're gonna have Thiago out there, is what I'm assuming, or at Fabinho out there. So you're gonna have actual players playing in their positions mostly. I'm assuming like Jota will be out there. I mean, Bobby is in form. That's going to be the interesting thing. I mean, we'll probably talk a lot about that in the pre-match once the lineup comes out too, because I'm intrigued about how we go about it. Do we do the 4-2-3-1 again? Do we try to switch to the 4-3-3, knowing we have made it work against City before? I mean, we basically like attacking City. It's just a matter of can they handle it and beat us, or do we get the best of them? So, but I worry about the left side. I guess if Jota is there, you'll get that pressing from the left side, because, in the past, whether it was Mane or Diaz, we got a lot from that side. I mean, I still remember, like Mane's goal, like, pressing, and thanks to an American goalie, but damn Americans again, see? But, it's the...
do anything well.
So that's, I guess, like, those are some of my concerns, and I don't know, like, I'm not really looking forward to it. I think I'm going into this one, compared to all the other games, a lot more pessimistic, and I'll take what I can get out of it. I'll take any positive that I can get out of it. What is your score prediction?
I went with 3-2 to the good guys last night, because I'm trying to be the ray of sunshine. that I emanate. Yes, just the power of positivity oozes through my pores. It's one of those things where if it's gonna be like a goal fest, I think we have a chance. But if it's something where we concede within like 3 minutes, and then Holland just gets into those spaces that Jurgen in his press conferences are saying we're going to take away from him, and if they're unable to do that early on and kind of just keep those lanes of distribution open to him, it's going to be a long day.
And that's it. But I think that's why I kind of still like the 4-2-3-1 and like the fact that Gomez is going to be back there and, bits more defensive when it comes to our
Yeah,
backs. I think Robertson will be out there. That's a lot better to have. I think he's a lot better defensively, or he can at least make up grounds when he does make a mistake as well. Alan says it could be 7-7. Actually, my prediction is probably 2-2. And that might be slightly optimistic when you look at it on the paper, but hey, maybe it is the turning point. Like I say, I've been kind of throughout when we had that goal against Newcastle, it was like this could be the one. When we beat Bournemouth 9-0, we're like this could be the one. So I'm kind of like tired of saying that, if you will.
yeah.
But hey, if they prove me wrong, I'm not going to be complaining. So we'll be back before the pre-match, and then once the lineups come out, we'll be on air like 10 to 15 minutes after the lineups come out to evaluate the lineup, see if we can predict it, because we did such a good job in the Rangers game in terms of calling what's going to happen. We'll try again in the City game and see what happens, and then hopefully we'll get a win. I mean, it would be huge. A win would really, then you could literally say they're back. I think because the players to themselves would say we're back as well, just like momentum wise. So it should be interesting. Everybody else, thanks a lot as always. Don't forget to like, share, and all that good stuff. Have a
Hit all the
great
buttons.
Friday. It's TGIF Friday, and then have a great Saturday. Get ready for Sunday. Take care, guys.